So, you want to become a sea monster like in Pixar's Luca, but you don't actually have the genetic power to do so? It's a good thing that you hit this video then, because today we're looking at how to become a sea monster all within After Effects and Mocha Pro, starting right now. So in After Effects, you can see that we have the clip of me getting slapped in the face with water. Well, not really slapped, but doused with water from my father. And we, in After Effects, will be using Mocha Pro, like I said in the intro, and we'll be using the Mesh Warp new tracking software that has been added to the new version of Mocha Pro. So before we go into Mocha, I do want to say, when using this tool, make sure that we have the entire clip. So you can see here from beginning to end is what we are using. Make sure we are taking that whole clip and applying Mocha Pro to it. The point I'm getting at is if you only need the mesh warp, let's say like at a portion in the middle, don't cut your clip in After Effects and then import that little section into Mocha and do the mesh tracking there, because the track has a problem with you doing that. It wants the full clip and then we can adjust within Mocha. Okay, all right, so we're gonna right mouse click on our clip. We're going to go to Effect, then Boris FX Mocha, and you'll see Mocha Pro if you have Mocha Pro. Make sure our quality is to full and then double click on the Mocha icon in the effects control window. So now with our clip in Mocha, what we want to do is we want to find the frame where our face is most flat, meaning like it's the most, it's not looking this way, this way, this way, you know, anyway, it's looking straight at the camera as cleanly as possible. So if we go through, I know there's a part right about there. So then we can grab our pen tool or the X-spline layer tool in Mocha, and we can create a mask around my face. So when that mask is done, we can go down here where we have all these options for our track, and we want to select the mesh checkbox. You can see it's right below perspective. So check that and you'll see a mesh will now pop up where it's picking these track points within the mask that we just created to create this mesh track. And then you want to go over to here where underneath generation mode and change it from automatic to uniform, and then you can see the mesh size. We can leave it at 32. Basically, if you bring that number up, it's going to make much more mesh points, many more. And then after you're done with that, make sure you click Generate Mesh, and that will change your mesh options. Another thing you can do is we have these mesh points that you can see are actually popping out where we drew our mask right here and there, all around. And if you want to get rid of those, they're not really necessary and they will just slow the process down. You can take the checkbox off of the vertices on spline and then again hit Generate Mesh to apply those changes, and you can see they went away now. Now we just need to track forward and backwards of our clip until we're done. So once we're done tracking forward, we'll go back to the first frame that we started on, and now we're just going to track backwards, and we're going to go to all the way where this water, as it's hitting my face, when it starts to disappear about right there is good, because the water droplets will affect the track and the mesh, and you don't want that to happen. So we'll have to just hand track those few frames with the water on my face in After Effects, but for in Mocha, we'll just have it end right about there, which is good. We can select our mask, and then you can click this little bracket right here, which is going to make an end point for our mask right there. Technically a beginning point, because that's where we started. Now let's go back to that frame that we started on, and now let's track backwards. And if we check through it, you can see that it does pretty good. When I shake my head, you can see the mask gets a little bit wonked out, but it's not too bad. It's still usable, but that's something to keep in mind if you're using this tool. Maybe you don't want to go like this really hard, because that's going to make the software a little bit more confused with how to go about with the track. So something to keep in mind. So go ahead and return to the first frame that we started on, and then go up top to this S blue square icon right here. You click that, that's going to show our planar surface, and then 2 buttons over you want to click the expand the planar surface. So that's basically going to expand it to the whole frame of the screen. Now if we go to our stabilize tab down here, you want to click the mesh warp under the warp mapping, and then change draft to high, and then we are all good to leave Mocha. So just Control S to save Mocha and then exit. All right, so now we're back in After Effects. We want to take our layer right here with Control D to duplicate, and then right mouse click on the top one that we just created, and then pre-compose, and let's call this face paint or whatever. You know, it's what, no, you know, who cares? you want to move all attributes into a new composition, and we can select open new composition. Hit OK. Now with this composition, we are going to just go to one frame where again my face is flat enough, and then we're going to begin to add all the effects that we want on our face for this Luca sea monster look. So we can go to this frame right here that looks good. And while doing this too, I actually have this photo. Let's see, where's that? I have this photo right here that I downloaded offline. We're actually going to be using this photo too later on, but it's a good reference photo to see our skin tones and what we want for this Luca look. You can see he's got green down low, and it gets blue, a light sky blue as it goes up in a gradient fashion. So that's what we're going to do. We right mouse click on our composition, go to New, Solid, and then just hit OK. And then right mouse click on that solid, go to Effect, go to Generate, and then go to Gradient Ramp. And then on our two colors, we have, you can see it goes from black to white. Let's make it go from a light sky blue to that nice soft green. Let's change the blending mode to overlay. And then with this gradient ramp, you can see if we click on it in our effects panel, these two little anchor points are up on our screen, and those represent where the colors are starting. We can take the top one where the blue color is starting and just drag it down to the top of my forehead, and then take the bottom one and drag it up to the bottom of my chin, or adjust it however you want. I think the chin looks good right there, just to get a nice gradient within our face and not the entire actual composition. And now we're going to create a mask with the solid to create a shape on our face of the skin tone. And so the reason I extend the color off to the right side of my face is because later on we're going to create a mask in Mocha to get a nice perfect edge of this skin color along my chin and forehead area. But right now we can just extend it out so we can cut it later. Go ahead and set the feather of this mask to something small like 5. But yeah, you can add whatever you want to your face on this frame. You can see in the Luca image, he's got freckles underneath his eyes, so you could add those if you want. He's got these subtle scales on the top of his forehead, so you could add those. It's the same way that we just added this solid, where you're just taking an image or a color and you're just dropping it in and applying it where it looks nice on this frame. One thing that I did add that I thought was pretty cool that I will show you is I took these free paint splatter overlay effects that I got offline. You can see here it's just white paint, and it's like a drop. So we can take like a drop like this and put it like on my cheek right there. We can take another one, we'll put it up on my forehead right there. And then for both of them, make sure you right mouse click, go to time, and then freeze frame on last frame for both. And then select both of them, right mouse click, pre-compose. We can just say face, paint, splatter. And now duplicate our solid color, and then go to the track matte option for that duplication, and then go to alpha matte face paint splatter, which should be right above your layer. And now you can see the drops now are the same color as the colors on our face, but you can see they're cut off. So if we hit M on our layer, we can delete the mask. And now you can see the paint splatter matches the color on our face, and it helps give the effect that we actually have water changing the actual skin on our face. Alright, so last thing you want to do in this composition is take the bottom layer, which is just our footage, and turn off the eye so it's no longer visible. And now you want to go back to our main composition and now take the base footage that has the Mocha Pro effect on it, and now right mouse click, Control C, and then Control V on our face paint layer to paste the Mocha effect. In our effects control window with the Mocha, we can go to the modular renders, and then under module, go to stabilize warp, select that. In the warp quality, click high, and then checkbox the render. Now let's change the blending mode to overlay for our face paint. And when it plays through, you can see what we added to our face is very well tracked to our face. It's actually pretty amazing how well the software works. So let's go ahead and cut this layer right where we need to, because we don't need all this at the beginning. So let's go right to when actually the track starts. Right there is good. Control Alt D just to slice it and delete the rest. Now let's go ahead and Control D, duplicate that face paint, and go to time and then freeze frame. So we're going to freeze frame this, and now let's just extend it forward, Control Alt D to cut off the end part. And then with this layer, we're going to just hand track it to our face for those few frames of the waters all over my face. So select P with the layer and then stopwatch the position to create a keyframe. And now let's just go frame by frame, moving and adjusting. So when you're done with that, you're left with this, which still looks a little wonky, but now we're just going to create a mask around it to have it just kind of like work up our face. So what we want to do with that is we want to right mouse click on this small little layer, go to pre-compose, and then move all attributes. And let's go ahead and adjust the composition duration to the time span of the selected layer. And let's name this face paint beginning track. Change the blending mode to overlay, and then create a mask on the first frame down here at the bottom. That looks good. Hit M and then select the stopwatch on mask path, and let's now go frame by frame with the mask just moving up my face. And when you're done with that, make sure you turn the motion blur on for that layer just to get a nice blurriness to this mask movement. And now you can see we are left with this. So let's go ahead and take that small little clip and then select the other face paint layer we have, right mouse click, pre-compose. Let's pre-compose this to face paint final, hit OK, and again change the blending mode to overlay. And now let's create that mask I was talking about to get that right side of my face paint off the screen. So let's take our base footage, duplicate that, and now let's open up Mocha again with that layer. We can delete that mesh warp situation we were doing. And now let's go ahead and just draw a nice mask around my chin, down through my neck, all the way perfectly around my forehead to create a nice, beautiful mask for the face paint that we've added. And once you have a nice mask around the face, from the moment my face gets doused with the water till the end of the clip, you can go ahead and save and exit Mocha. So with that layer which we created the mask in Mocha, we want to take it and put it above the face paint layer. And let's go ahead and rename it to face mask. And now you want to go to the track matte options on our face paint layer and change that to alpha matte face mask. You can see we now have a nice mask cutting off the edges of our face. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we need to adjust the color of our eyes and our mouth. You can see if I go back to the Luca image, his eyes have this yellow tint and the mouth has no green at all in there. But if we go back to our clip, you can see that our eyes are greenish blue and our mouth is green inside. You can see my teeth, they're all green. So we need to fix that. So let's go ahead and take the base footage, duplicate that. Let's rename it to eyes. And let's bring it up to the top. And again, in our effects control window, we have Mocha already in this layer. So let's select the icon to open up Mocha. And quick note, if you're new to Mocha, the mesh warp tool that we use to get the stuff on my face to track so perfectly, that's the only thing that we're using that's from Mocha Pro. Everything else we're using is from the free version in After Effects, just so you know. All right, let's delete that face layer. We don't need that. And now let's go through to the point in which I open one of my eyes. There, looks good. And then let's go ahead and create a mask around my right eye right here. And let's track forward. And when that's done, let's go ahead and track backwards. And you can see as we track backwards, I begin to blink and close my eyes. So let's go frame by frame now. The software has a problem reading it. And let's just adjust as I'm shutting my eye. And if we go to the next frame, my eye's completely shut. So instead of keeping this mask here, what we can do is we can just go back to the other frame, hit this bracket button over here to end the mask on that frame. And then if we go a couple more frames back when my eye opens again, we can then create another mask around that eye, and that'll be the mask for the first part in which my eye was open. Just makes it easier. You don't have to expand and then collapse our mask and it gets all jumbled up and crazy. And then we can just track backwards from there. And you can see with my right eye, we have this mask right here that's well, and then I blink and we have the second mask that fits right with the eye perfectly, and that's great. So for sake of time, we'll just stick with my right eye. So we would save and then exit out of Mocha, and then go to our Mocha Pro option, go to the matte drop-down window, and then hit apply matte. So you can see the mask has now created the eyeball to not have this green layer over top of it, which looks great. So what we want to do now is add that yellow tint to the eyeball. So let's right mouse click and go to effects, go to color correct, and then we can just go to lumetri color. And we can go to the basic color correction, and for the the temperature, we can boost up to make it warm, make it a nice orange. And then if we go to the curves, we can go to the hue versus hue and take that orange and turn it yellow. Right there, looks good. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I actually want to adjust the pupil of my eye. Now, Luca's Luca's pupils aren't actually that big of a color, but his friend, what's the friend's name? Luca, friend, name. Alberto. Now Alberto's got this purple color, so I like the purple, so let's make my pupil actually purple. So we can go ahead and duplicate our base footage layer again, drag it up to the very top. Let's rename it to pupils. And again, let's bring up Mocha, delete the mask that is on file, and now let's do the same thing we did with our eyeball, except just with the pupil of our eye. Save in Mocha, and then let's exit and get back to After Effects. All right, so once you have that mask done in Mocha, we can right mouse click on our pupils layer and let's go to Effect, Color Correction, and let's again go to Lumetri Color. Let's take the basic color corrections and change the tint. Let's, I think we push it up. Yeah, if we push it up, it's going to favor the purple, and you can see how my pupil is already getting very purple. I'm actually satisfied with that, but if you wanted to adjust the saturation like we did before in the curves, we can go to the hue versus saturation and create anchor points around the purple, isolating it and then boosting it up. That's up to you. I'm actually fine with this right here. And if we play through, you can see we have this yellow eye with this purple pupil, and it looks great. So for the mouth, you would do the same thing we've been doing with the eyeball, just mask out the mouth, but then you wouldn't add any color correction to it at all. It would just be the way it looked when you filmed it. So for sake of time, we won't show that because it's the exact same process. Now let's get to his hair. Let me fix that real fast. So for his hair, we're gonna take this still from the film that we have, and we're just going to mask out and pull one of these little scale hair things. So if we take that shot, drag it right here to create it in a new composition, let's just create a mask around one of these guys right here. Now let's select our anchor moving point tool, anchor point moving tool, you know what I mean? And let's drag the anchor point to the base center of our hair. And now let's drag the hair down here, center frame. And now let's adjust the composition to just be small enough that it barely fits this shape that we have. So if we go to composition settings and make sure we lock the aspect ratio, and then let's just drag it down until it's at a size that works for us. And now let's rotate our hair so it's straight up and down. Next, I want to select this little toggle right here that will turn off our mask so we don't actually see it, because I don't want to be distracted by it. And let's go up to our puppet tool. And with this puppet tool, we're going to select a point in the left corner right here, one at the mid top left, one at the very top, one at the mid top right, and then one at the right bottom corner, and then one at the bottom center. Now for each one of these points, it will create a keyframe, but just double check that it does, because sometimes it doesn't. So if we select our layer, hit U, we can see, yes, we do have keyframes. Just so you know, if you hit U on your keyboard and nothing happens, then either your layer isn't selected or your layer is selected and you have no keyframes in your layer. So that's a fast way to check. Okay, so now with these puppet tool points, we are going to animate our hair to kind of flip up a little bit. So for the points that we have right now, we actually want that to be the final resting place for our hair. So if we hit U again, let's select all of our keyframes that we created, which should be only the 6 points that we have. Let's just drag these down the timeline. We don't want to deal with them right now, but we know that's going to be the end point. And now let's take these points and let's just drag it on down. Squish it on down. It's okay if it bulges out right here, that's totally fine. And then let's just go a couple frames forward, and then let's stretch it back out. And when it stretches out, I almost want one side to kind of favor the other at first, so it kind of whoop, whoop, kind of does a little wiggle like that. And so the right side right here will kind of go up a little further, the left side will stay low, and then we'll go a few more frames ahead. The right side will then drop down, the top will shift over, and the left side will come up. A few more frames ahead, and then we'll just go back to the other side favoring, but not as much. A few more frames ahead. And now we can take those keyframes that we put to the side and drag them back here to where we need them. And if we play through, you can see that we have that right there. Now, I don't like that. I think it's a little too slow, so we can just adjust the keyframes to bring them a little bit closer to each other for all of them. So if we hit play with that, I like that way better. We can select all of our keyframes, right mouse click, go to keyframe assistant, and then just select easy ease, and that would just smooth out the movement a lot more. So the last thing we're gonna do with this animation is we're just going to keyframe the scale. So let's go ahead and right mouse click, pre-compose this hair, wiggle, hit OK. And now let us move our anchor point down to the base of our hair right there. And then select S to bring up scale. And we want to unhinge or unchange the X and Y axes, whatever, of our scale so we can adjust each one accordingly. And we're only going to adjust, I believe that's the Y axis, what you would call it, of our scale. So what we want to do is select the stopwatch to have it at 100 as a keyframe, and then go to the beginning here and drag it down to 0 for that one. Go a few frames ahead and then bring that keyframe back to 100 and go ahead and turn on motion blur. And that leaves us with this right here. Before we move on to, let's change the name of this composition. You can see it's named Luca 48AD 643AD. It just was the name of the image that we first put in to create the composition. Let's right mouse click on that. Let's rename it just to Luca Hair. Hit enter, and now let's go back to our main composition. Take that composition, the Luca Hair, drag it in. You can put it right on top. And now we have a nice Luca hair that we can now duplicate and build around my face where needed, or my head. And as you're building the hair around your head, make sure that the animation we made at the beginning of our clip is at the right point in which the water is hitting your face so it pops up at the right time. We're just using this frame right here because it's a good frame to see how we need to build it, but just don't forget about this beginning part where it needs to be popping up right when the water is hitting your face. Easy thing to forget, and it can screw you over. Maybe not. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, Austin, I never make that mistake. You're the idiot. All right, so that looks good right there. And again, like I was saying, make sure the timing is good at the beginning, but after you get the timing right, we can stagger the clips a little bit. You can see here how I staggered them so all your hair doesn't just appear at once, but it does a little blip, 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 blip. Select all of our hair, right mouse click, pre-compose. Let's name it Hair Final. Move all attributes to new composition, and then make sure that the adjust composition duration to the time span of the selected layer is unchecked. Hit OK. And now we want to go to the base footage, take our Mocha Pro effect, copy that, and then paste it to our hair final layer. And now we can go to the module renders, go to the module and change it to stabilize warp. And again, change the normal to high and then render out. And when we do that, we can see that we have the track of my face applied to the hair, which works really well. So what we can do now is to hide the actual hair of mine behind me, we can just duplicate this layer final layer and then take the one on the bottom and then just drag it up a little bit. So we hide the hair a little bit more, shift it over a little bit. And what we can do to remove even more of that hair, these like little strands right here that we have popping up, is to have a frame of this shot without me in it, which you should always get when you're doing VFX, and which we do right here. And then if we just take that, we can bring the opacity down or just turn off our layer right here, but keep the layer selected and then mask around the edges of my head right here. If we turn the layer back on and then drag it down below all of our hair effects, you can see that our strands of hair are all gone, and then you just want to keyframe that mask to stay with the top of my head. So that is it. You do the same thing that we did with the hair for the ear, even the puppet tool and all that stuff with the expanding. It's all the same. Apply it to that Mocha track that we have on our base footage. That's it. That's how you can become a sea creature using After Effects and Mocha Pro. Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss anything that we're dropping. Make sure you go follow me on TikTok as well. A lot of the TikToks that I'll be doing will be correlating with the tutorials I'll be dropping here as well. I'm also in the midst of directing a short film for a NASA contest where we're attempting things in camera and in After Effects that I've never attempted before. So I'm really excited to share that, and the tutorials that will come out of that I think will be really exciting. So hope you have a good day. God bless, and I will see you in the next one.